So I wonder why they call this thing the sandwich plate anyway. I mean, probably doesn't taste very good, but maybe it's because it's between the oil filter and the engine, so it's kind of the middle of the sandwich. Yeah, that's probably it.
Hey Lotus people, we're back today working on the Elise, and I am in the middle of doing an oil change. That's why I'm wearing my t-shirt that says oil, but it's upside down, and it's the cap of an oil, and it's black like dirty oil. Anyway, doing an oil change. I'm not going to show you how to do the oil change, but I am using the oil change as an opportunity to install something that is hotly debated on the Lotustalk forums, and that is a new sandwich plate for the oil filter. Now, saying this is hotly debated may be an understatement. People are literally fighting about this topic. Now, there's an issue on the Lotus Elises with the 2ZZ engine where the cam lobes have a wiping problem. And one of the prevailing theories on the internet is that the oil is too cold. See, the Elise has 2 oil coolers up front. Actually, some of the Elises have 1, some of them have 2, depending on which package you have. But there's a theory that those cool down the oil too much, and the oil really protects your engine at optimal temperatures above like 190, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the oil's too cold, it's not protecting the camshaft and you get this cam wiping issue. That's one side of the argument. The other side of the argument says, hey, the Toyota Celica GTS has the same engine, and guess how many oil coolers it has? 0 oil coolers, and they still have cam wiping issues. But some of the users on Lotustalk have done pretty extensive testing on oil temperatures. One of the issues is the stock thermostat plug that is in the original sandwich plate that's on the car. And the research that they found is it just lets oil pass too much, and so it doesn't stay closed and let the oil heat up the way it should. But the fix for that is to put on a new sandwich plate that has a better thermostatic plug in it. So I've had the sandwich plate sitting on a shelf in my storage for probably 6 or 9 months, waiting to be put on. So we're finally going to get around to doing that today. So let's take a look at what the replacement sandwich plate is like.
Okay, so this is the Mishimoto thermostatic oil sandwich plate, designed and engineered in Williamton, Delaware. Mishimoto.com. You can buy these on Amazon, but you're also going to need these special fittings, which you can get from Exige Gus on Lotustalk. He sells them. Or if you want, you can just buy a complete kit from InnoKinetic, and they'll sell you everything you need all together. So let's take a look at this thing. First of all, this is an insanely fancy box for a oil sandwich plate that's attached to the engine that you're never going to see. I mean, look at how nice this is. The packaging on this is phenomenal. Way over the top. It's got like a hinge. It's got all this protective stuff in here. And look, it is just a really very this is just a very nicely built piece of equipment. Feels good, it feels solid. And here, you can actually see in here, this is the thermostatic plug that as the temperature heats up, it expands and allows oil to pass through the oil coolers. And then when the oil's cold, obviously the oil stays and just runs through the engine and bypasses the oil coolers. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the old sandwich plate and install this along with the new fittings that go in here. This thing is a work of art.
So I'm not going to go over how to drain the oil, but if you have a baffled oil pan, one of the aftermarket oil pans, you take this plug out, the oil comes out, you catch it in something like this, and then you take the oil filter off, which is on the other end. I've already done all this. The oil filter comes off right here, and this is the original sandwich plate and the oil cooler lines that are attached to it. So what we're going to do is remove the nut in the middle. Actually, we're going to remove the lines first and then take the nut off the middle and remove the whole sandwich plate and put the new one on.
And need a pretty big wrench to get these off too. I'm worried I'm going to break my knuckles, so let me get some gloves. Well, I'm glad I put on those gloves, but I still really, really hurt my thumb. Okay, I had to edit a bunch of that out because I was swearing because I hurt myself so badly. But anyways, I managed to get these broken loose, mostly. The first one here is taking the inner fitting off with it. The second one, though, is coming off exactly as it's supposed to. Of course, I didn't have the camera rolling for the good part, but we got this off. We used our impact gun to do that. But this one is still seized up on there. So what we're gonna do is actually just take off the sandwich plate like this, and then figure out what to do with the rest of it. Okay, so here's the original sandwich plate, and you can see where I have a problem because there should have been a second fitting in here, but when I broke the fitting loose on the oil line that's on the car, the fitting stayed in the line. So now I need to separate those. And I did not have a 27mm socket to get the other one out, but I went and bought one, and hopefully this does the trick. It came off the sandwich plate, and it's still in the end of this line, which is not what we want. So we need to separate this from this. Okay, this probably not the best way to do this, but we're gonna give it a shot. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what we needed. Again, probably not the right tools for the job, but got it done. All right, next up, we need to get the new sandwich plate ready. So what we need to do is put the correct fittings into this. Oh, my nice box just snapped off. Oh no, we're good. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna very gently put this in the vise here and then put these fittings in. I'm gonna use the soft jaws here so that we don't mar this thing up, hopefully too badly. And I don't want to clamp on the sealing ring here, so I'm gonna grab it up here like this. Again, we don't need it too tight. All right, and then these are the replacement fittings that you can get off of this guy on Lotustalk. I'll put a link to the entire thread, the entire Lotustalk thread in the description so that you can find these and buy these fittings, because I think they're kind of a little bit obscure and hard to find. And he'll send these to you for a nominal fee. And they'll each have a washer on them. We're gonna leave those washers in place. And we are going to put these in here. I'm just going to put them in by hand and then tighten them in. I figured this would be easier to do off the car rather than putting the sandwich plate in and having to deal with it on the car and upside down, laying on your back and all that stuff. And these new ones, I believe, are 30mm. I actually don't have a 30mm socket, so we're going to tighten them with that big adjustable wrench. Got the washers in there, and these seem like they have a pretty tight fit, so we're good. New sandwich plate is ready to go. We didn't mess anything up putting it in the vise. All right, so next up we need to attach the sandwich plate up here to this and put it on and then reattach the two oil lines. And actually on this seal, I would put a small dab of oil on that just so that it forms a good seal. We're just gonna put a little bit of oil in that. Wipe off the excess here. I'm clearly not very good at applying oil to a seal. All right, we're gonna put this on and attach it. Attach the sandwich plate here using the same fitting that goes in the middle of it that we had before. I don't think it matters really too much like what angle this is at. There's a little bit of wiggle room. You could obviously do it how you want, but I think the key thing is you're gonna want to be able to get a wrench on these things to tighten the fittings. So I'm gonna try to put them sort of straight out, and then I don't know, I guess I'll leave it so that you can kind of access this little plug over here if you ever needed to change the thermostat. Make sure that that's like kind of easy to get to. Okay, because I'm gonna have a clearance problem, if I put the second one on, what I am gonna do is tighten this down. I think I've generally got it in the right position here. So I'm gonna tighten this. This gets 25 foot-pounds. So we're gonna do 25, we're gonna use the torque wrench, do that to 25 foot-pounds, and these don't really have a torque spec, so we're just gonna tighten them with that big adjustable wrench again. 25 foot-pounds. And then we are gonna put the oil filter on. Again, you wanna put a little bit of oil on the edge of the filter gasket here just to form a good seal. Usually a good idea. Some people like to fill their filter with oil before they put it on. I've never been into that, but you know what, to each their own. Put our oil filter on. And people, remember, oil filters only need to be hand tight. Everybody over torques their oil filter, but it is really unnecessary. So just give it a good grip. However tight you can get it with your hands is correct. All right, there we go. Now we're done. We just have to fill it with oil and make sure that there's no leaks. Okay, today we're going to be using this Shell Rotella 5W40 synthetic oil. And I actually used to use the Mobil 1 5W40 that was for diesel truck engines. This is highly recommended by a lot of people on Lotustalk, but I couldn't get the Mobil 1. And so I found this. It was actually on sale. So I'm gonna give this a try. It's still synthetic, it's still for heavy duty diesel engines, which I know the Lotus is not a diesel engine, but everybody swears by this stuff and says it's really good for these engines. All right, well, there you go. That was probably not the best demonstration of how to change the sandwich plate on a Lotus Elise, but we got it done. I just started the car, checked it, ran it up to temperature, made sure there were no oil leaks. Everything looks good. Just gonna check the oil level on the dipstick and put the under trays back on, and we're done. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful.